I'm always on the lookout for square subjects, especially those that look a little bit like human faces, and I was really drawn to these two circles here that look a bit like eyes to me. But what I really want to do is post a perfectly square picture, and if I was to take it from this position just casually, you can see that even though the subject is square in real life, it's not square on my frame here. And that's because I'm taking a picture of it looking slightly down, and I'm also slightly to the side. In order for this to be absolutely square with straight lines, I need to be right in front of it. So the first thing I need to do is position myself correctly. And that means standing right in front of the middle of it and then lowering my height until I'm right in the middle of the subject. So that involves crouching down. If you want the lines to be absolutely straight in a picture like this, you need to make sure that you are facing directly the middle of the subject. So that means crouching down here so that the camera is at the height about halfway up the subject, and I'm also positioning it very carefully in the middle of the frame, because if I angle up or down, you will see those lines begin to slope in or out, and I don't want that. I want them to be absolutely parallel. Now, as I'm taking this picture, I'm having to imagine what it would look like posted square, because that's my intention for this kind of subject. But there's no need to imagine, because you could just go to a menu and select a different aspect ratio. I'm choosing 1:1, which means the square shape. And now I can see exactly what this would look like as a square, and that's going to make it much easier for me to frame it ready to post. And you can see here that it's allowed me to much more easily preview what I'm going to post. I'm going to be very careful to make sure that I've got the same distance above, below and to the sides, and then take the shot. Right, that looks good to me. Let's take a review of the photos. For this shot, I've just taken a casual photo of the subject, and you can see that by not being careful with my positioning, these lines are not straight. They're not parallel with the edges of my frame, which is what I'm after. So I've got to be a lot more careful about where I take the picture. For this shot, I've positioned myself directly in front of the subject, and that means moving right to the middle of it and lowering the camera by crouching down so that I'm pointing right in the middle of the frame. And that means that these lines are now straight and they're parallel to the edges of the frame. But I've got too much space at the top and the bottom, and even though I'm intending to post this as a square, sometimes it can be easier to frame when you're actually composing in the final shape. For this shot, I've positioned myself so that I'm shooting directly in the middle of the subject. That means positioning myself right in the middle and lowering the camera down by crouching down so that it's pointing right in the center. And that in turn means that these lines are perfectly straight around the edges. They're parallel to the edges of the frame, which is what I was after. But to make it easier to compose it in the shape that I intend to post, I've changed the aspect ratio to square, or 1:1, and that means that it's cropped the top and the bottom off for me, and that has made it a lot easier for me to frame the shot and have exactly the right amount of space at the top, the bottom, and the left and the right. I'm pretty happy with the way this has turned out, so we can post this.